Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Prince Automation Destination. This is Prince. So today we are going to start another interesting series, that is Maven, which is a build tool widely used by automation testers as well as Java developers. So without further delay, let me jump onto the topics that we are going to cover as part of this series. So first we will try to understand what is Maven, how to install Maven in Windows machine, what are the different components of Maven, such as pom.xml, which is heart of Maven. Build life cycles will be covering two life cycles, default and clean. Site is out of scope for the current series. We'll discuss about two type of dependencies, transitive and direct dependencies. We'll discuss the concept of plugins and profiles in Maven, and then we'll try to understand the default directory structure of Maven and how Maven works. Then we'll discuss how we can utilize different commands to execute different phases, build phases, or life cycle or a goal in Maven using the Maven command. We'll discuss how we can create project using Maven, and at last we'll cover some advanced topics such as super pom or effective pom and how to create multi-module Maven projects, which is useful in case of microservices based applications, and then settings.xml, right? Now let us try to understand what is Maven, right? So Maven is a build tool which is built in Java language and is used primarily for the Java projects, though it can be used for other languages as well. And as part of current series, I am also going to use it for the Java based project, right? And it is designed in such a way that it can manage projects build, reporting and documentation from the central piece of information, that is pom.xml. Meaning pom.xml is the single configuration file where we need to provide most of the things, and it automatically create the build process, generate the report and provide the documentation, right? Now what is the purpose of Maven, right? So when we work in a particular project or a framework, we are generally dependent on external libraries, right? So when we are dependent on external libraries, so we need to have them into the project. So one option is to download them manually and put them into the build path in order to use it into the project. Another option is to automate this process. So to automate this process, we can utilize Maven or Gradle, which are build tools, right? So in Maven, in the pom.xml, we simply provide the dependency that we need and it automatically download the dependency and provide it to the project, right? Apart from dependency management, it helps in compiling the source code and it helps in testing the same compiled code as well. And later, once this code has been tested, we can package this code in the form of jar. We can install it locally or we can deploy it onto the servers. So this is the overall purpose of Maven. If we don't have Maven or Gradle, everything is manual, right? So it helps in reducing this manual effort and it automate this particular process, right? Now let us try to understand what are the different components of Maven. So in Maven, we have main file, which is pom.xml. It is the core of project, right? And it is a single configuration file that contains the majority of information required to build a project, right? Now let me show you a glimpse of pom.xml and how it look like, right? So this is the pom.xml, right, where we provide most of the configuration, right? So this is how it is created. So we'll be discussing later as well. This is at high level I'm going to discuss. So it has group ID, artifact ID, which is the project name, right? And then we have dependencies tag under which we can provide different dependency. So for example, this particular project needs all these dependencies or libraries. So we need to simply provide this particular dependency and we provided the version, we provided Cucumber Java and it belonged to this particular group, right? So it will automatically download this particular dependency from the central server to the local repository, right? Now we have discussed pom.xml. Next thing is dependencies and repositories. So one of the first goals Maven executes is to check the dependencies needed by your project. So how it checks? It checks in this particular dependencies section. If there is some dependency, it considers that this particular project need this particular dependency, right? So it will download. So first of all, it will check this dependency in the local repository, which is .m2, right? If this dependency is not available there, it will download it from the central repository, right? Now we have discussed the concept of dependencies and repositories. Let us try to understand what is Build life cycle, phases and goals. See, build process in Maven is split up into the build life cycles, phases and goals, right? So Maven has three life cycles. First one is default, second one is clean, and third one is site. Most of the things, build ready things, are going to happen in the default life cycle, right? So let me show you. So this is one Maven project and I'm using IntelliJ. Here we will see this Maven option. As soon as we will click on this Maven option, we will see this lifecycle section, and here we will see different build phase, right? So clean belong to the clean lifecycle, right? While site belong to the site lifecycle, and other phases belong to the default lifecycle. So validate, compile, test, package, verify, install and deploy, they belong to default lifecycle, and most of the things happens in the default lifecycle itself, right? So these are the three different life cycles that we have in Maven, right? So we'll be covering them later, right? Now, what is plugin? Maven is at its heart a plugin execution framework, meaning this is the framework which executes the plugins. What does it mean? Meaning everything in Maven is executed in the form of plugin. So for clean, there is a plugin. For validate, there is a plugin. For compile, there is a plugin. For test, there is a plugin, right? So as soon as we click on this clean, it will trigger one plugin, or we type in, for example, mvn clean, which is a command used to trigger this particular phase. It triggers the clean plugin internally, right? So Maven is used to trigger the plugins, or we can say it at its heart a plugin execution framework, right? So we have different type of plugins: clean, compile, surefire, etc., right? So we'll be covering it later. Then we have a concept of profiles as well. So build profiles are used if you need to build your project in different ways. So sometimes we are supposed to build the framework or build the project differently for different type of environments. So for example, for staging we want to have something different, and for production we want to have something different. So in such cases we can use the concept of profiles, and in test automation we can utilize profiles to execute different suit XML files. We'll be covering it later, right? So to understand it more, we'll be covering in the later section, so you can understand it from there. So this is what I wanted to cover as part of current lecture. Thank you for watching. I would request you to please like, share and subscribe, and in the next lecture we'll be covering how to install Maven in the Windows machine, and we'll discuss other topics in the series. Thank you for watching once again.